When well developed, this part of our brain helps us to manage our strong emotions and respond with flexibility, even when we feel overwhelmed. It also helps us to tune into the feelings of others with empathy and insight. When we feel worried, distracted, or stuck on achieving goals, our brain function is more strongly dominated by our old brain, which has a part called the amygdala. The amygdala manages the powerful fight and flight response, which switches on when we feel stressed or anxious and releases hormones and chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. That is why stress has such a big impact on us. Mindfulness is a technique that can help us to manage this process more effectively by building our skills of attention, concentration, and a capacity to direct our awareness in a certain way. This all means that we're less likely to be swept up by a strong emotion and the power of the amygdala. It also means we can bring choice to our emotions and our thoughts. In doing so, we're playing an active role in changing the way the structure of our brain develops, in much the same way we can change the shape of our body by doing certain exercises at the gym. When we practice meditation regularly, we build a capacity to become aware of thinking and emotion. As our mind becomes more settled, our nervous system is able to take in more accurate information, and we can access capacities for creativity, flexibility, and lateral thinking, which enable us to manage challenging situations more skillfully. When we build skills of mindfulness, we still experience negative feelings like frustration, disappointment, fear, or irritability. But the research shows that we recover much more quickly. We now know from research into brain development that regular meditation and mindfulness practice reduces the size of the amygdala, reduces levels of stress hormones, and strengthens connections to the frontal lobes. This all means that we're more likely to live with less stress and more happiness.
Less stress and more happiness. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah. So you heard both the speakers before me talked a lot about emotional awareness, understanding what our emotions are, and self-regulation. And I think those are really the two areas where mindfulness can make such a big difference. That ability to understand what we are feeling, to be able to express it and talk about it, and to be able to manage it. Mindfulness does not mean that you will not have any of those feelings. It doesn't mean that you won't feel angry, frustrated, disappointed, confused, any of those feelings. What it means is that you are much more aware of when you are having those feelings, and instead of reacting to them, it's like it creates a bit of a pause button. So you have the time to think about what I'm going to do with that feeling, how I'm going to respond to it, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to manage it, maybe put in place some of those very practical strategies that you talked about. Because I'm not fighting against that emotion, I'm able to manage it better. So in the video, she talks about the fact that, we assume that we have full control of our emotions. We think that everything we do is a choice, but it isn't. A lot of the time, our brain is reacting to things without us even thinking about it. We see something or we hear something, and we literally just react. There is no gap between the event and our reaction. But this concept of neuroplasticity, the most positive thing that I felt when I heard this, I realized that I could change. I didn't have to be this over-emotional, overreactive person that I'd become. I could actually change the way that my brain processed emotion. And I could change the way I reacted to it. And those two things, the impact of that on my relationship with my children was absolutely huge. Huge. I went from being a very reactive parent to a completely more responsive parent. So instead of just reacting to whatever my child did or said, I actually had time to okay, I feel really irritated that they've just dropped that on the floor. Or I'm really frustrated that he just doesn't want to do his homework. This is driving me crazy. But instead of taking that emotion and just saying it out loud or just reacting to that emotion, what happened was I was able to self-manage. I was able to have that feeling, calm myself down, and then choose what it was that I said to my child. And that's huge, isn't it? Whether you're a parent in a parental situation doing that, or whether you're a teacher in a classroom-based situation, that ability to choose how you respond to your emotion, that self-management, it's absolutely huge, isn't it? It changes not only things for you, but your relationship with the young people that you're working with. And the other thing that it does for them is you're actually teaching them that skill just by them being in a connection with you. They're learning it from you without you even, you don't have to sit down and tell them how to self-manage. They actually are experiencing it, and their brain is growing in that way purely by being in a relationship with somebody who behaves like that. So it's incredibly powerful. I love the bit that what she said when she says, if we spend a lot of time worrying, we get really good at worrying. Yeah? Did you know that, you know, the more you worry, the better you become at it? Yeah? If you want to be an expert worrier, spend a lot of time worrying. Because what happens is our brain gets really good at the things we spend a lot of time doing. Okay? So if you want to be calmer, if you want to be more somebody who's able to manage your emotions better, basically all you have to do is learn how to do that and then practice it. It isn't rocket science. It's just that we need to spend more time doing the things we want to do and less time doing the things we don't want to do. Okay, so our frontal lobe is the bit that helps us to regulate our emotions. And what mindfulness does is it helps that part of our brain to get better at doing that. Okay, so the more we use those skills of concentration and focus and the ability to direct our awareness, so the more I practice choosing what it is I want to think about, choosing what it is I want to focus on, the better I get at doing that. Which means that we're not constantly just being swept up by these emotions that are going on all day. If you're a teacher and you have a class of, I don't know, how many children do you generally have in your classrooms as a teacher? 29. Okay, well, is it at least 10 generally? Yeah? 10, I mean, 20 could be, okay. So it's definitely more than one other person, isn't it? You're in a room with a group of children, which means how many emotions are you being exposed to on a daily basis? Hundreds, aren't you? In a minute, you could be exposed to 25 different emotions. And what happens is we get triggered by all of those emotions. We get swept up in them. It might not even be our own emotion, but all those little people's emotions. And if you're dealing with a classroom of adolescents who have bigger emotions than anybody else, you're just being exposed to this constant tirade of emotions all day long. So our ability to manage our emotions when we're being surrounded by everybody else's emotions can be really compromised. So the better we are at managing our own emotions, the better we are at coping with all the other emotions that are constantly coming in our direction all day long. And the calmer we can get, the more we're able to think creatively. So, you know, a lot of the strategies you're going to hear, you've heard some earlier, and you're going to hear more over the next day. Strategies that you can use with your students, different ways of helping them. thinking on your feet. I mean, you don't have time as a teacher to sit down and think about how you're going to respond to every situation, do you? A lot of the time, you're just having to think on your feet all day long. The calmer your brain is, the more you're able to do that. The more you'll be able to remember all the amazing ideas that you're going to have and be able to put those things into practice. It's great to walk away from these 2 days with some fantastic new things you can try, but you're going to have to be in the right mindset to actually try those things. And that's where mindfulness works so well with all the other things that you're going to learn. Okay. I want us to do this one. I said to you it takes 3 minutes a day. And most people nodded that they could find 3 minutes. I'm going to give you a gift right now. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Okay? I'm going to give up 3 minutes of my time to you. So we're going to do another mindfulness activity. This one is a breathing activity. And I particularly like this one. Now, some of you might think, I'm going to fall asleep if we do this. Okay? I promise, if you focus on the instructions that you're given, you won't fall asleep. But if you do, if you find that your neighbour is gently snoring next to you, just be compassionate and just give them a little stroke, okay? Don't nudge them so they fall off their chair. At the end of the 3 minutes, just give them a little nudge and say, it's finished now, you can wake up. So what I want you to do, before we start, I just want you to bring your awareness to how you are currently feeling. You don't need to say this out loud. I just want you to try and label some of the emotions that you're currently feeling in your bodies, okay? You might be feeling a bit tired. You might be feeling a bit overwhelmed with all the things that you've learned. You might be feeling curious. You might be feeling a bit uncomfortable on your chair because we're probably not used to sitting so long in a day. Whatever it is, there's no judgment. I just want you to just for 30 seconds, just bring your awareness to how you're currently feeling. Okay? That's all. Don't need to share it. Just bring your awareness to that. And then I want you to follow the instructions that he's going to give you. Now, what I'll say to you is, if you hear any other noises or any other voices during this activity, that is absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. All you'll need to do is just keep bringing your attention back to the voice that you hear on this screen, okay? So if your mind wanders, if you notice something else going on around, it's okay. It really doesn't matter. Just bring your attention, just keep bringing your attention back. Remember what I talked about the puppy on the extendable lead, okay? If the puppy wanders off, it doesn't matter. Just call it back. Just bring your attention back. I'm not going to turn the lights off because I want you to see that you can do this anywhere, anytime, in any situation. All right?
Mindful breathing. Close your eyes and rest your hands on your knees. Bring your attention to the touch of your body on your seat. Feel the weight of your body on your chair or cushion. Make sure that your back is straight and that you're comfortable. Take a few deep breaths. While you're breathing deeply, relax your shoulders, your stomach muscles, the muscles in your face, your hands, and your legs. Let go of all the tightness in your body. Now bring your attention back to your breath. Notice what it feels like as it enters through your nose, goes down through your throat, filling your lungs, and back out through your nose. Notice your stomach and chest rise and fall each time you breathe in and each time you breathe out. And just allow your breathing to be natural and relaxed. Now bring your attention to the feeling of your breath in your nose. Feel your breath as it comes in and goes out. Just focus on this sensation, paying attention to each time you breathe in and each time you breathe out. As you inhale, maybe your breath feels cool. And as you exhale, maybe it feels a little warmer. When your mind wanders, or if you become distracted, just notice what's going on in your head, and then gently bring your attention back to your breath, going in and out. Focus on the feeling of your breath and allow thoughts and feelings to come and go in the background. Now gently bring your attention back to the touch of your body on your seat and open your eyes.
Okay. So did you like my gift to you all? Yes? Okay, so would anybody be prepared to share how they feel now, whether they feel any differently after that? You feel a little bit sleepy, yeah? That's quite normal. Calmer, yeah? Does your brain feel a little bit calmer? Yeah. Anything else that you've noticed that you feel? Feel less anxious. Yeah? You had a headache and it's gone in 3 minutes. I wouldn't want to take the credit for that, but I will. Anything else? Yeah? Yeah, yeah. So whether you feel differently or not, I mean, that was one activity that we did for 3... Oh, I've broken the computer, now broken the microphone. You can see just even in 3 minutes, just 3 minutes of just focusing. And that activity was mindful breathing, okay? We focused on our breath in that activity. The one before with the bell, that was mindful listening, all right? So between now and when we meet again tomorrow, I hope you're all coming back tomorrow, that I haven't put any of you off, but between now and when we meet tomorrow, you could practice mindful drinking. When you have a glass of water, when you have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, you can just focus, bring your focus and your attention to doing that one thing. If you normally drink your cup of coffee with your phone in your hand, just put your phone away for 3 minutes, okay? You could practice eating your dinner tonight more mindfully. You could even do that mindful breathing activity again before you go to bed at night, when you lay in bed. Mindfulness is not, the idea is not that you fall asleep during your mindfulness practice, but it can be a really good way of just calming your brain down so that you are able to fall asleep. Did you find your mind wandering while we were doing that? Did anyone find that their mind wandered a little bit and you thought about other things? Yeah. And it's completely normal for your mind to do that. The most important thing is when that happens, just bring your attention back to whatever it is that you're doing. So in that instance, a couple of times, I don't know if you heard her, a couple of times she said, just bring your attention back to your breath. Just bring your attention back and notice the breath coming in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay? And if you have to bring your attention back 50 times in 3 minutes, that's okay. It's not a test of how many times your mind wanders or doesn't. It doesn't make any difference. The whole purpose of the mindfulness activity is constantly bringing your attention back. It's not whether you were able to focus for 3 minutes without thinking about anything else. Does that make sense to you, yeah? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, I failed because my mind wandered. You didn't fail if your mind wandered. You'd fail if you weren't able to bring your attention back to what it was you were thinking of. But your mind wandering is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how many times it wanders. Okay? And you could do that activity sitting in your car, couldn't you? Yeah? We did it in a room of people that most of you don't know. You could do it in your car. You could do it at home. You can do it anywhere. And it's also a good activity that's one that you could start with your children. You could do it with your children. Even if they can only do it for a minute, it doesn't matter. So the idea is that each time you do it, it becomes easier. And really, it's better to do it for 3 minutes a day than an hour once a week. Okay, it's not the amount of time that you do it for. It's more about training your brain to be able to do that. And how long do they say that it takes to create a new habit? Anyone know? 21 days. Yeah, so if you said to yourself, from today I'm going to commit to doing something mindfully every day for 21 days, by the end of that 21 days, you would do it without even realising that you were doing it. It would be the same thing as brushing your teeth. Okay? So that's just something you can do for yourselves. That's your own decision. These are all the things that we think about when we make a choice, isn't it? These are all the excuses we give ourselves to put off changing something. Oh, tomorrow, perhaps, I might do it, next week, one day, later. Or you could just do it now. You could just go home and commit to doing it now. That's all it would take is you making that choice. No. It's a really good question. You do not have to listen to any instructions. You can just pick something and do that for yourself. I did that. That's called a guided mindfulness practice. And some people like to have a bit of guidance when they start, but you do not have to. I would say is if you want some guidance, there are lots of really good apps out there that you can use. Probably one of the best ones is one called Headspace. Headspace. I will show it tomorrow. I've got it on one of my slides tomorrow, okay? Headspace is a really good one. And that is free for the first 10 days. And the good thing about that is he shows you some little videos as well, which explain a little bit more about mindfulness. And then after 10 days, if you decide you want to use it, you would pay and you could carry on using it. But you don't have to have any guidance. You could even just listen to a piece of music mindfully. Pick a piece of music and listen to that for 3 minutes. Okay? So I hope that what I've done in that session is really just give you an introduction to mindfulness, to help you to understand what it is and what it isn't, and why it's something that's become so popular and talked about so much. While I wait for Dr. Russell to come back, because I think he's gone to the gentleman's room, has anybody got any questions that you want to ask me about anything I talked about? Could you draw mindfully? Yeah. Absolutely. You could just do some drawing. Have you heard about mindful colouring is very common as well? Yeah? But you don't need a special book. Okay? You could, if you're a teacher and you've got like some colouring sheets in your classroom, use one of them. Okay? You do not need a special book. You don't need to spend any money doing it. Yep, sketching, colouring, definitely. Colouring is a really good one. Have you seen, often the Mindful colouring books, it's really small. Okay? The reason for that is because it helps you to focus more because it's so small. But you do not have to use that. Any other questions anyone wants to ask me? Have I exhausted you? Okay, so, oh, sorry, there was another question. Does someone have a hand up? No? Okay. So tomorrow I will talk a bit more about how you can incorporate mindfulness into your parenting at home and how you can incorporate mindfulness more into your classrooms. And I'm going to give you, show you a couple of videos of teachers actually teaching their students mindfulness in the classroom. Okay? And I have got a lesson plan actually with me that if we can get it copied, I can give it to any teachers who want one. Yeah? Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you. Are we having a break, or are they staying, or what's happening? Do you know? Are they taking a short break, or are we waiting? Are we going straight on? No break. Okay, here he is.
Can I have an announcement, please? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you register for just one day, you can pick up your certificate of attendance before you leave. If you registered for 2 days, you can pick up your attendance certificate of attendance tomorrow evening. But don't forget to fill the evaluation form. You do need to hand the evaluation form, then take the certificate of attendance. Okay? Thank you. We're going to start right away with Dr. Yes. We're going to start right away with Dr. Russell Ram Singh.
All right, I'll just start easing into everything, and I'm taking back the 3 minutes that you were given before. So with this section, there's been a lot of overlap amongst the different presenters, which is very heartening in terms of what Dr. Huda was saying about perhaps this representing a shift in being able to get some of these ideas out into the schools, in households. So for this wrap-up session, at least for today, I'm going to draw a lot on many of my professional colleagues who specialize in children and adolescents with ADHD at home and in schools, in terms of some approaches out there that have been studied over the years and that have been proven to be effective with some of the skills and are certainly compatible with mindfulness and the other things discussed here. So the first couple slides are similar to the other talk. This time we will probably not get through all the slides because there are some examples of coping issues, specific skills that I put in the handouts, and you can contact me and I can send them to you if you don't have access to them, that have instructions for different executive functions and the skills associated with them and how to set up better skill-based plans. And we'll get to some of the most common ones that people ask about. But we value self-regulation wherever we see it. So the choice of the puppy before, even in our pets, training the skills, and not to dehumanize anybody, but when we think about with our pets, what are we rewarding? What are we reinforcing? And so sometimes when we give a treat, what are we rewarding? And